Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Brooklyn Nets actually did it. They used every one of their 5 first-round picks. Also, the Spurs absolutely crushed the draft. It might be a serious problem this season, and the Dallas Cowboys are set to make a comeback.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Brooklyn Nets were busy in round 1 of the 2025 NBA draft. 5 first-round picks. Here to talk about that with me from Locked On Nets, Eric Slater. Eric, I appreciate you joining me. I know it was busy for you on night 1 with Yegor Demon being the prize selection of the Nets' 5 first-round picks. So let's start with that. Was it shocking to you that the Nets actually chose to keep all 5 of these picks? Were you expecting movement, or did you think the Nets really wanted to embrace the youth movement here?
It was shocking to me that they kept all 5. I, didn't have any doubt that they wanted to bring in multiple rookies, but when they had 4 first-round picks initially, the consensus within NBA circles was that they were going to consolidate and look to move up. And once they acquired the 5th in that 3-way trade with the Atlanta Hawks and Boston Celtics on Tuesday, at that point, it was like, all right, like Sean Marks, that Nets front office is gearing up for something. They're getting ready to make a move up the draft board in some area or another. And that just didn't come to fruition. And they picked all 5 guys, which is obviously it's the first time in NBA history any team has done that. So I think it shocked everybody somewhat. But I think the volume of the picks is kind of a philosophical thing with them of a lot of dart throws. They're looking to, see if one of these guys or multiple of these guys can hit and if they can walk away from this draft with maybe multiple high-level rotation pieces. So time will tell.
And out of those 5, whether it's Demon or someone else, which one do you think is going to have the most immediate impact? I mean, obviously you spend a top 10 pick on a guy, you hope that he can have an impact for you, but what's your outlook on how immediately these guys can contribute to this ball club?
I think they'll all contribute in different ways immediately. If we're talking about the most NBA ready and the guys who are ready to contribute to an NBA team right away, I would say Drake Powell, the 22nd pick, is probably the most NBA ready. He's arguably the best athlete in the draft. He shot well from 3 during his freshman season in North Carolina. So he has just a ready-made skill set and is in a lane where he's going to be expected to do complementary things. So I'd say he's the most NBA ready. Danny Wolf, I would say, is probably second in that regard, just has some skills that I think he could make an impact and translate early on. But, if we're talking about the guys who have the most upside, Yegor Demon, Nolan Traore, the 2 lead ball handlers that they picked with their first 2 picks, those guys have a lot more upside, but it might take, there's going to be more expected of them, more asked of them as guys who are initiators and lead ball handlers. So there might be some growing pains, as there usually are with rookie ball handlers. So those guys have the upside. The most NBA ready, I'd probably say Powell and then Danny Wolf.
Now, based off of who was on the board and based off of your analysis and you doing work on these guys, was Yegor Demon the one that you felt was the right selection for the Nets at number 8, or was there someone else available that you were surprised the Nets passed on?
Based on how the board played out, there were several guys that the Nets were reportedly high on. Jeremiah Fears was a guy that I know that the Nets liked. Trey Johnson, a guy that I think they would have been happy to come away with as well. But both those guys went off the board 6 and 7. So at that point, the top overall prospect, top rated prospect that was left was Kamal Maluach from Duke. And it seems like the Nets just went with more of an upside swing with a ball handler in Yegor Demon. So am I surprised that they went with Demon at number 8? Yes. I think, most of the draft community was surprised. And I think a lot of people think that it's a bit of a reach. But if you're looking for what they were going for at that pick, it seems like they wanted a guy with upside. They might have wanted ball handling or a ball handler type mold in that pick. And if that was the case, if you're looking at the options there, Demon, Kasparas Yakachonis was another option. He fell to the 20th pick. So if you look at it from that perspective, it might not be that surprising that they went with Demon there, but it's definitely a risky pick, but one that could pay off. And there is definitely an upside there.
And we know that the Nets, Eric, are a team that are going to continue to look to improve this roster and build and maybe move some pieces around. What are your expectations for the rest of this offseason? Does that include maybe trading away a Cam Johnson? Does Nick Claxton walk? Are there areas where this team looks drastically different, or do you think they're going to try to use this youth and run it back almost?
I think that next season is going to be a rebuilding season, a season where draft positioning and next year's draft is going to be something that is a frequent talking point. So I think that, CJ could be on the move. He's a guy who thinks his value would be substantially high coming off a career best season. But also I'd say the Nets just brought in 5 first-round picks. This is the biggest rookie class of first-round picks in the history of the NBA. So when you have that many guys, you're going to want some veteran leaders. I know that the Nets front office is extremely high on Cam Johnson from what he brings from an on-court perspective, but also from a leadership role. I know Sean Marks has told me that he wants Cam Johnson to step into more of a leadership role. So based off of that, I'd be somewhat surprised if he was on the move. A guy like Nick Claxton, I think, he's 26 years old, so he's young enough to be on another timeline if the Nets go rebuilding timeline, but also he could have some trade value, and the Nets obviously are going to be several years away with this core potentially from contending. So it wouldn't be a surprise to me if he was on the move. And then for the rest of the offseason, the Nets still have a lot of cap space. They just picked up an extra first-round pick via a salary dump deal. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if they're in the mix for more deals like that, and if they look to utilize that cap space to potentially add to their future stash of draft picks.
You can stay up to date all year on the Brooklyn Nets by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Nets on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Spurs had a perfect draft. Before we get to that, Ace Bailey's reps were saying some bizarre things before the draft. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game like Dodgers vs. Royals or Braves vs. Phillies. Game Time has last-minute tickets and zone deals for big savings, like 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matchups. Seat views right in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you'll be. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Even after sending signals that he didn't want to land in Utah, Ace Bailey is now the newest member of the Jazz. And he'll have to jazz up his mood about it, despite Bailey's refs reportedly warning at least one top 5 team not to take him and indicating he wouldn't report. Utah ignored the noise and grabbed him at number 5. The 6'10 Rutgers wing didn't work out for the team, didn't interview with them, and wasn't even sure they were interested. But Utah's front office played it close to the vest and got their guy. Now, Bailey says he's focused on basketball, and the Jazz insists he's super excited. Whether that's wishful thinking or a relationship in the making, we're about to find out. Over on the diamond, the Astros squeaked by the Phillies.
Paul Casella, MLB.com, put it out there. Phillies are just the 10th team, and I was like, the 10th team in the last 20 years, 30 years. How about the 10th team in baseball history to be swept despite allowing no more than 5 runs throughout a series? Hey, there's an honor. Of the last at-bats of this series between Alec Boehm and Nick Castellanos, Alec Boehm does almost exactly what he did in the 8th inning in a bases-loaded 1-out situation, game 2 of this series, which is have a good at-bat up until the last pitch where he wildly swings at a pitch outside the strike zone. And then Nick Castellanos, the last at-bat of this series, 3 pitches, 3 strikes, and the first one well outside the zone that he went flailing away at. Phillies look to pick up the pieces in Atlanta starting Friday night.
The Braves look to secure a second series win over the Mets.
After all of the craziness of the last couple weeks, the New York Mets are right back atop the NL East, standing alone in first place after another win against the Atlanta Braves. This is Ryan Finkelstein, the host of Locked On Mets, and there's a little bit of a somber feeling around this team right now because Griffin Canning could be lost to what appears to be an Achilles injury, so devastating for him in the midst of a career year to see him go down and just be laying on the field in the middle of this game. It was a brutal sight. The Mets bullpen, though, was incredible at picking up their fallen teammate. I mean, they just had an outstanding game to keep the Braves off the board. 6 1/3 scoreless from the Mets bullpen. They did not issue a single walk, only allowed 2 hits. Austin Morin, Daniel Nunez, those 2 guys ate up 4 1/3. So they really did carry the load for the Mets. And a big game by Pete Alonso with 3 hits helped contribute to a 4-run night for the Mets offense. It didn't have any home runs, but they didn't need to. They strung together hits, sac flies, RBI knocks, got the job done. And the Mets are able to split their 4-game set with the Braves. And again, because the Phillies got swept by the Astros, the New York Mets are in first place in the National League East, up by half a game. Big turnaround for this team over the last couple of days. We'll see if they can sustain it on tomorrow's show. Of course, I'll be talking about the fallout of the Canning injury, and we'll be looking ahead to the Mets' upcoming series against the Pirates.
Former Ravens kicker Justin Tucker has been suspended 10 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy, stemming from serious allegations of sexual misconduct made by 16 massage therapists. He's denied all wrongdoing, calling the reports tabloid fodder, but the NFL's investigation led to a double-digit ban. One he'll serve as a free agent. The 35-year-old can still attend training camp and preseason games if signed, but he won't be eligible to return until November 11th. Tucker now finds himself with no team, no contract, and no clear path back. The San Antonio Spurs had a phenomenal draft to add on to their promising roster. Locked On Spurs host Jeff Garcia breaks down the San Antonio's draft day decisions.
Spurs, first round only. Y'all probably noticed already. There'll be no second round pick. The Spurs traded that out. So we're going to focus only on picks 2 and 14. Everybody acts surprised they picked Dylan Harper. I know you were just so shocked.
Yeah,
right. Just so.
They telegraphed that for months. No drama there.
No drama. Well, let's go and start it. Your thoughts? What is he going to bring to San Antonio?
I think a little bit of everything. I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but you're looking at a guy, and we talked about it earlier in this week, is that what Harper does so well with this team, and where he fits so well, is that his skill set brings out the best kind of in everybody else and their versatility, if you will. An example, Stephon Castle. Now with Dylan Harper here, we're going to see Castle's ability to play the 3, Castle's ability to guard bigger players on the floor, and as a result expand kind of the lineups and differentiate the lineups a little bit. In addition to the fact that you want to talk about Harper more specifically though, what he brings is that you're looking at a guy who right now can slot right into that 2-guard spot if they elect to do so, can slot right in as the first guy off that bench if they elect to do so, and just a nice little bit of versatility in that backcourt that is going to go a long ways and fits very, very, very well with Victor Wembanyama, because as we've come to learn, he's such an anomaly, Victor is, that positionless basketball kind of goes to even a different level around him. And when you have a guy who can play both guard spots, and you, as a result, move him to that, like I said, to that 2, and allow Stephon Castle, amongst others, to expand on their skill sets, it's everything that we've been talking about coming to fruition. Well, hopefully. Fruition tonight for the Spurs, having them come to San Antonio.
You know, and the one thing that still concerns me, and I'm pretty sure it concerns a lot of y'all, the fit. This has been repeated over and over again. It got repeated again today after the pick came in. How are you going to slot Castle, now Harper, Fox? I mean, how do you think that's going to work out?
I think it will, like I said, I think it is going to work, but there are times where their flaws are going to show of just being young players, of what it is. Neither Castle or Harper right now are, barring the unforeseen of Castle taking a big leap, are really good catch and shoot, knockdown shooters. So I think as a result, that's where you're going to see lineups stagnated a little bit, see the 2 of them split up. And we haven't even mentioned De'Aaron Fox yet. Yeah, haven't even gotten to that part, who himself is not particularly a great 3-point shooter neither. So you will see, at least in theory, again, you know, those guys stagnated a little bit, in my opinion, in the early on. It's a good way to keep up the normalcy of what was there last year with Fox and Castle, and as a result, blend Harper into the equation a little bit more, because there is a little bit of a repetitiveness with the 2 of them, Castle and Harper, at this point, early stages in their careers. There is, but that's not particularly a bad thing going down the road. You take that right now, you live with the consequences now in year 1 with what you got. years 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. It'll take some time. I know patience has been driven into everyone's skulls here at nauseum. I know it's been maddening, that word, but it's going to take time, but it's going to work.
Yeah, exactly. First thing, I love the offensiveness that he's going to bring. He can create his own shot. He's a great 2% shooter, 3% shooter. He's okay. He's not the greatest, but I think that will come in time. But talk about a guy that can open some space for Victor to operate, create his own shot, get defenses on their heels. I think he's going to fit fine. Dare I say, Casey, maybe a starter towards the end of the season?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of this will come down to comfort. I think a lot of this will come down, which I do think Harper has plenty of.
Sure.
Confidence has been a strong suit of his. Lack of confidence.
Right.
What I was going to, he's plenty confident in his ability to do that. We've come to learn that through this pre-draft process and interview process and everything we've learned along the way. I am confident right now with the way things are structured, set up. It's a good foundation right now, or maybe not foundation, kind of I guess blueprint maybe is a better word, right, to kind of work with here of how they get Harper into the equation, how they can take that next step with him, not only in however many games quarter into the season, but midway through the season, and I think by the end of the season, depending where they are in the standings, despite where or depending on where the season turns for better or for worse. Long story short, I think Harper will be a starter at some point in this season.
I have no doubt that they're going to figure this out. You're going to see a little pitfalls along the way, but it'll sort itself out. What's going to be really interesting, Casey, though, if he does become a starter, who does he displace? Would it be Barnes? Would it be Vassell? Could it be that? That's something I'm keeping an eye on, because I think he has that potential to push the coaching staff to this. Maybe second guessing, like, wait a minute here. Wait a minute here. We got something here. He's got to be out there. Kind of like we saw last year with Kessel. Fans are screaming, what are you doing, Spurs? Put him out there. Right. It makes sense. I think you're going to see that with Harper.
Stay up to date all year on the San Antonio Spurs by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Spurs on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Cowboys are ready for a comeback. No, really, we're not joking. Dallas Cowboys made a big-time move in adding George Pickens. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland explains why the addition sets Dallas up for a big-time comeback this season.
So I guess the idea is if the offensive line is improved, which helps improve the run game, and now you have that bona fide number 2 wide receiver that you were missing so badly, and if the defense, maybe top 10, it was their bold predictions, maybe top 10 is reaching it, but if you got a middle-of-the-road defense in Dallas, that could turn into a pretty competitive team, and if some of those guys get back and, some things do break right, that could be a pretty talented defense.
It's just funny, though, when I know all fan bases do this, right? They try to talk themselves into stuff, but saying they got better in the second half of the season and being like, they played good against the Bengals. Joe Burrow had 369 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. Jamar Chase had 177 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Chase Brown had over 100 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. That's just a silly thing to say. And then they faced a lot of really bad teams in the second half of the stretch, but they were not good against the Bengals whatsoever. And then they played the Panthers. Cool. They were somewhat good against the Buccaneers, still allowed 24 points. They got destroyed by the Eagles, lost to the Commanders, and then, you beat the Giants, cool, and played good defense against the Giants and the Panthers. But saying they got better in the second half of the season, I just think is not correct. And they added some players on defense, cool, and, traded for Elam, the corner from Buffalo, added linebackers, Kenneth Murray, Dante Fowler Jr. But they also lost, Chauncey Golston, who was their second most sacked guy last year, and Jordan Lewis, who was second on the team in passes defense. They lost pieces just as much as they added them. I'm worried about this team a lot more than the fan base is, a lot more than you are.
If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we are here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, we separate the contenders from the pretenders as we hit the halfway point of the MLB season. So at least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.